Let's see if I can do. All right, we are live. I'm gonna set up this thing. We're just gonna be looking at some of these samplers. I'm not gonna we're gonna go actually let's just go to Sweetwater. And the reason I'm gonna use Sweetwater is because they have both the push, which is not really called the push. Hold on one second, let me go here. Go to push. No, it's called the move, I'm sorry. There it is. Okay, and we'll talk about it in just a second. Let me set this up. So you can chat it out in the comments section. Turn this thing down. I gotta take this Bluetooth off, or else it's gonna interfere with us talking about it. So give me 1 second while I do this. Oops. Now I know some people got their stuff already. Currently, I'm the only person in here, I'm assuming. Let me. Should be good. Just gonna move this computer a little bit. I got the comment section open so I can see what's going on with that. While I'm waiting to see if anybody shows up, if they want to talk about it, I need to grab a charger. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm going to get a charger for my iPhone. Let me do that right here. Hopefully this won't interrupt anything if somebody shows up. Just trying to make sure the battery stays charging. But anyway, so here's my thoughts on this whole thing. And this is by far not the only options that are out there, but this little screen kind of annoys me a little bit. The fact that it's 4 tracks annoys me a little bit. And these recessed buttons kind of annoy me a little bit. See how recessed they are? Not that they're bad, because I'm sure they put the quality in here. This thing says 64 gigs, but to be honest, you only get 50 because 14 of those gigs are the actual software. They're allotted. What's up, SimCity? Yeah, man. I enjoy helping supporting other people's channels. I think that's always a good thing. And yeah, always good to see MPC family. So we're just talking about the different samplers and things. What's up, blatantly blatant, crazy rabbit? So feel free to drop your feelings on these products too in there. Good to see everybody. This price bothers me. If this was like $350 for what it does right now, and so here's my feelings on buying gear. You cannot buy the gear for what may come or may be promised to you down the road, because companies drop products. They'll be like all in at first, and then they'll say, you know what, that product didn't sell well, so we're not going to support it anymore. They'll drop it. That happens often with companies. And in my opinion, Ableton's, one of the things they have done well with their push series is they have supported the push 2 and for a long time. So I will credit that. But being that this one is not designed, it's more of a starter tool. You say 250 max, blatantly blatant. That's funny. No, I mean I'm saying 350 max. And the reason why I say that is because that's a okay number for a 4 track. That's also an okay number for something that doesn't have a big screen at all. And this thing is really simple. And I know people are like, well, you can put 4 minutes of a track. Well, first of all, I'm not going to be sampling 4 minutes of a track on one pad. That's just crazy. Most of the time, you're just going to sample what you need, and then you'll chop that little piece. But the thing is, the way the chopping is that you have this where you have to hit each pad for it to chop, and it places however much of the sample on the pad that you're holding down. I don't really like that way of chopping samples. Now I'm sure they'll work on this and get this better, but that kind of bothers me. Yeah, I mean we have Koala. I mean, just pull Koala out as an example. $15 for the whole app, and it's on the iPad. You can do all that same stuff on the iPad. You can actually chop the same way that you chop it here in Koala. Plus, you have Lazy Chop. Plus, you have all the stuff. So it's easier. This is hardware. I don't want to compare it to just a piece of software because it's not just a piece of software. It's a hardware tool as well as that. But let's be honest, if you got an SP, you probably got everything you need in there, plus some to make the same amount of tracks. The workflow is just different. If you aren't an Ableton user, what's the point of grabbing something for Ableton if you don't really use Ableton? I don't really see what the point is. Or if you don't use Ableton Move, I mean Ableton Note rather. I don't like Ableton Note. I don't like the instruments in it. I love Ableton, just I don't like this. So for that price, it doesn't appeal to me yet. And I say yet because it may get better down the road if they improve it. I'm just scrolling through some of this stuff. It may get a little bit better. I don't like, oh, here's another thing I found out about it. I just don't like is the fact that I'm going to read a comment or two. We have things in our toy box that can start things. Yeah, I know. There's a ton of stuff that can start. I can start in Koala. If you need that, it's cool with parting from $450 plus tax shipping. Yeah, it's a little much, man. Old conversations that's going to other hardware. Yeah, there's no such thing as a killer piece of hardware because they all do something a little bit different, and in the end, it really comes down to workflow as far as what you want. Um, But there was something I was going to say. I forgot now already. That's terrible. First of all, I don't play. I play instruments. I don't like playing on pads like that for instruments. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not me. They take up 14 of the gigs as onboard storage that they claim for the actual sounds and the software for the what is it called? The actual software for the device. So you only really get 50 gigs. Let's be honest, that you actually can access. Um, they haven't set the MIDI CCs up for this, so where you could use it other than Ableton. I think it works for Ableton, but it doesn't work with other devices. So it's none of that. Be careful, Benjamin. The move is coming for your MPC. Yeah, right. Now they did put a nice, from what I've heard from different people that know the internals, that they did put a Raspberry Pi, I believe, in there, which is nice. And technically, according to what I've heard from some people, is that it's faster than the actual MPC stuff. But am I ever going to say it's better? Heck no. It's not even close. They haven't given chop, and they don't have a full screen. They don't have quality instruments. Their instruments are okay. They're mediocre instruments, in my opinion, compared to what's even in the MPC or other hardware devices that have built-in instruments. I would not buy this for an instrument. This is If I bought this, it would just be for sampling and drums. That's pretty much it. Like I would never get this for anything else. We'll talk about the P6 in just a little. I'm just on this one just because it's kind of what people are. It's kind of the two things that have come out that people are looking at, right? So I'm just going through those two things and talking about it. Live control from Ableton to Beyond the DAW. Absolutely. If you use Ableton Note or Ableton Live, to me, this thing is pretty cool for that. But it's again a starter tool, and it's not going to replace the push. The push has way more data on the screen, way more internals. In 15 minutes, they'll be ready for the next new set. Exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, gear acquisition syndrome is a real thing. They call it gas for a reason. People get caught up in it and want to and enjoy it. I'm not knocking this, saying that it's not good. Oh, they do at least here acknowledge approximately 50 available. See right here. But I know that speaker is not that good. It's not going to be good as like a MPC live speaker. The microphone may be the best part about that onboard feature. It is compatible with Live 12.1. So if you have Live 11, then you can't. I'm assuming that you can't use it with Live 11, is what they're saying. I don't know. is because usually when you put compatible, you'll say live blank or higher. And this one says 12.1, which is the latest version they just dropped. And then here's your requirements. It says built-in battery, 4-hour life. Okay. It is very lightweight. That's a positive. I look for good and stuff too. Here's some comparisons with other. I like how Sweetwater does this. I'm not looking at no Beat Buddy or Yamaha Seek Track. Seek Track is awful. I'm not really a fan of the Novation stuff, circuit stuff. Some people like it. I mean, $400. It is $50 cheaper than this, but I'm not really into that either, though. Of course, we could look at the SP. So you could get an SP for $50 more, and if you bought one used, you probably could get it for this price or even less. If you bought the MPC one, you could get that for around the same price as this. So you got to take that in consideration. I don't care about what they say factory sounds. Half the time you get factory sounds, you don't even use that stuff. Oh, and the SP does have a koala mode, so you can use koala with it if you prefer to like sequence in koala. I'm looking at your stuff, Beat Buddy. Yeah, I mean, come on now. Hold on, I gotta take a sip of something. My throat's getting. Well, let me read a comment. Beat Buddy. Able to let me holler at you, bro. Yeah. So I wanted to open this forum up so people could talk because I like talking, and obviously people like talking about this stuff. So it's interesting. So 16 step sequencer. I mean, if you sequence beats, that's cool and nothing wrong with that. If you do, I mean, I like to do it on certain things. I use Drumbo a lot on the iPad for doing stuff like that. These are velocity sensitivity. These are velocity sensitive. So that's good. And they're backlit, and these aren't really backlit, but I don't think they are. At least it doesn't say it. But you can change the color of these pads. So actually, the lights, whatever they have under the lights there, it does show up. I know that much. See, having an SD card changes the dynamics of it. Even though this one only has 16 internal storage for the SP404, the fact that you can have an SD card and have more sounds is a huge deal. There is an editor with the SP. Oh, and I found out too, there's an editor with the P6. There's an editor to go in and edit sounds if you want to use it. I believe it's like an app that you have to have a computer for, though, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at that one because this one gets talked about a lot lately. Um, and I'm not saying this is better than anything. It's different. But if I had to choose right here, you can see I'm using both. I'm not going for this. Not at that price. I mean, for another 500 bucks, I'd rather have the push as a controller. Although I'm not buying that either, by the way, just so you know. I'm not buying either one right now. I don't see the I'm really waiting to see what Akai is gonna do, if I'm honest. And so let's go P. I think I just need to type in P6. Let's do that. Roll in P6. There we go. Here we go. Let's take a look at it. So yeah, the screen stinks because you only see 4 letters, and yes, you have to get used to all these different codes and things on there. As any Roland product lately has been, most of them are the same with regards to shift functionality. You got to use a lot of shift. A lot of people don't like that. Seem be like playing TT. You ain't drinking lean, are you? You're all too funny. Pull out the magnifying glass. Yeah, pull out. And this one's definitely smaller. They're both battery powered, which is good. I think this one is 4 hours, if I'm not mistaken, as well as the other one. I like the sequencer buttons down below here. That intrigues me a lot better. The pads are not velocity sensitive. That's kind of a bummer, but if you're sequencing something, I don't know if you're sitting there worried about the velocity part of it. And to be honest with you, most of the time when I play samples, if I'm playing a sample chop, I don't need the velocity part of it. And so many guys put their beats, they do them on the MPC even at the full level. So if you're not really worried about velocity sensitivity, it's not a big deal. I'll tell you what this thing intrigues me for. Two things primarily. One is that lo-fi button, being able to change the sample rate. I'm gonna say three things actually. Being able to change the sample rate. The SP404 does not have that, nor does it have a mic on deck. So having the mic on deck is kind of a big deal, in my opinion. You know, when I first looked at this, I was all against it, but I really didn't know that it had banks on it. So you really have six sample pads per bank, and you got eight of them. So what does that give us? 48, 48 pads total. The granular is on there, the keyboard. Another thing that this does better than the keyboard, oh man, I forgot to put my phone on, what is the thing? So I might get a call in a minute because I'm taking a break from work. But anyway, to do this. So I'm gonna make this video as quick as I can, so everybody get out their feelings in the chat if you want to. What's up, Ali? Good to see you, man. Loving your music that you're doing with this P6. Doing a lot of. I mean, you always make good music, but the P6 thing is really nice to hear people doing that kind of stuff. Yes, it's gonna probably be more lo-fi with this one. I think it's in 44.1 kilohertz. Um, the internal space is definitely smaller than the other device, but I'm about sound more than I am about like memory, because the reality is if it don't sound good, I ain't going to use it anyway. You can charge the battery, so you can see right there it says charge. We'll look at the other stuff. I do know that the keyboard allows you to have more octaves than the SP404, which I think is great. So you could hook a keyboard to this and run your keyboard through and get the velocity changes and stuff that you want. I know you can do that. And you have two of them. Yeah, Ali, you got two. That's crazy. That's actually great. When somebody goes out and buys two of a device, either they just really want two of them or they really love it. And I would imagine it's that you love it more than anything. Um, Quantized copy. There is a lot more menu diving on this one, I think, than the able to move. But yeah, and I will say the able to move, you can see the waveform. That is kind of a good thing, though the screen is small. I mean, you probably can't see it if that screen. Okay. All right, I think my screen froze.